Hi, everybody. Today I have Tracy Liberatore. We've been friends and colleagues for years now. She is a transformational leader who has dedicated her life in service helping others get and stay well. She's a mother, physician's assistant with a law degree, certified hypnotherapist, past life regression therapist, certified rapid transformation therapist, and she's got a book coming out. So I'm so honored to be talking to her today and going over her process and where she was and where she is now. Tracy, if you could say hi.
Hi, Amanda. It's great to be here on with you. It's an honor, really, for me, from where we've been and where I've come from.
Yeah, so we started getting in contact with each other the summer of 2018. And, we've kind of been here and there with each other. We have very similar stories. We've been there, done that kind of thing. So if you can kind of walk us through the Tracy that you were in 2018, what was a typical day like for 2008 Tracy?
Well, 2008 Tracy was drinking heavily. I would wake up in the morning feeling like crap. I promised I wouldn't curse on your show. And my wake-up time, I would say, was anywhere from 11 o'clock, if I could get myself up that early, to 1 o'clock, trying to get my day started. And I was running a company, and, it was successful, but I was really miserable every day. And I would just spend the day trying to watch the clock. When is it going to be 4 o'clock? When is it going to be 5 o'clock? So I could just, go and have that first drink so I could start to feel better. And I just remember the struggle of not being able to figure out why I kept doing this on a daily basis. I was stuck in this cycle, and I couldn't figure out, where was this coming from, because I knew it wasn't good for me. I knew I was killing myself. I was overweight. I had high blood pressure. I was on medication. I was pissing out my ass, let's just say. And it was just, feeling sick all the time. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, sweating, my heart's racing. It's just like, I can't sleep, So why do I keep doing this every day at 4 and 5 o'clock? And I just, I remember I had a tarot card reader once that had told me, there was something holding me back from a past life. So I was really driven to sort of try and figure out what that was. And at the same time, really delving into spirituality and trying to see if there was something in that, tied in with the past life, and is there something there? So I think that's wherein I had found you online, and I was looking for some spiritual help and guidance. And at that time, I remember too, I felt really alone, because I had all these ideas about, what I believed spirituality was, and it was totally different from the way I was raised. My mother was a severe Baptist, and so, that fear-based religion was really rammed into me. And I started out Catholic, but then, as I was older, it was more of the Baptist. And you want to talk about somebody that, bring up past life, you're talking about demons and devils and holy shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to form these weird beliefs, or weird to myself at that time, and trying to find answers, and just feeling very isolated, very alone. I'm like, I don't know, I'm like the only person in the world that has these thoughts. People would ask me, what's your religion? I'd say my own, because I sort of felt there was truths in each one of the religions, but nobody had the full answer or the big picture. And so really, when I came across you were the first person that entered my life that sort of was on the same wavelength. And I was like, holy shit, finally there's another person. I'm not so alone here. And that was just so great. And I just remember talking to you about this whole cycle that I was in. And I remember you telling me, like, don't beat yourself up over it. You need to go at your own pace. You're going to figure it out as you go. Just, this is your story in your life. And I remember sessions with you where things would like sort of fall off the walls, and you remember, and you're like, the power is just so strong, the energy was working together. And I remember thinking, like, wow, is it even possible that I could have this ability to be something so much better. And really, it was the first ray of hope for me in finding a way out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when we were doing, I think we were doing a BQH, and we were towards the end, and all of a sudden my guitar that was laying should not have fallen at all. Like, it was laying perfectly against the wall and just on its face. And I'm like, oh my God.
You
Yeah.
told me that when I woke up, and that was the session that transformed my life. And so I could just go into that a little bit. Through all of this, you know, and you were so patient with me through the months. We would meet monthly and talk, and you were trying to convince me to do this BQH, and I was afraid because I didn't know what to expect. I remember I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, and I'm scared, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I had a lot of fear put into me from other healers that I won't go into, but I remember talking to you about that too. But so I had finally, you know, heard the right message. And this is a big part about what my book is. I feel like this message needs to be out there more, because I had gone through, you know, as a physician assistant with an alcohol problem, I had gone through the gamut with AA and with monitoring and meetings and rehab and you name it. I had to do it, right, to keep my license. And none of that worked for me. I still wanted to drink heavily, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, I know it's bad for me. I know it's like not helping my life, and I understand all of this stuff in the background, but yet I'm still depriving myself of this only one thing that I think I want, and I don't know why. And so, you know, finally it was a combination of, I heard the right message about the marketing of alcohol and how brainwashed we are with alcohol. We think we need alcohol to have fun and to, you know, de-stress and all of this stuff that they market us, right? And so I heard that message, and lo and behold, I had that, we scheduled that session. It was the very next day. I remember this. And I remember the session. I just, you know, and you had told me when I came out, you know, I was seeing these like sort of waveforms and things were black with colors, and it was just like a strange space to me in. And I remember when I woke up, you said, you know, Trace, you had gone back to source. And so you basically right now, whatever you invite into your life from this point forward, part of it, that you have a clean slate now, you can start over. And I was just like, wow, like, and that completely transformed my future. And I remember that night when my partner at the time said, how about one more time, because I would for years asking to quit, and it was always one more time. And so when I was proposed with that night, I said, no, because I'm not inviting this back into my life. I'm done with this. And it was just from that point forward. And the example I use for everybody is that it's just, you know, I went from really thinking about drinking, dreaming about drinking. When am I going to have my next drink? Who am I going to drink with? What am I going to have? You know, how am I going to get it? Because now, of course, I've already gone to rehab, right? But I've relapsed and I'm drinking again, so I have to hide it even more now. And like all consuming. And then the guilt and the shame that comes with that of being a mother and a parent and all the other stuff, it's just gone. It was removed completely from my life, my being. Like, and I remember being away, I'd taken the kids away, and my partner at the time, you know, shows up and is like, well, where's the bar? And I'm like, I don't know. And that was when it hit me. I was like, holy shit, this is gone. Like, I couldn't go away and not know where the bar was. I couldn't go out to eat at a restaurant that didn't serve alcohol. I mean, it was just gone. And so I firmly believe that through the process of what we did, somehow we altered my DNA, and it's just gone. And I don't have anything to prove that. But through further studies with the gene keys and the things that they talk about in there of being able to do this, you know, not a meditation, what's it called, a contemplation, and being able to alter your DNA after doing a lot of this deep work, I think that somehow we made that process go faster, and maybe through the use of the hypnosis and all of that. So that's sort of what started my process of looking into that.
Oh, I love that. That's such a wonderful recap of the whole thing. I was like almost tearing up over here. So that's why, excuse me, I love the BQHs so much, because it takes your consciousness. I mean, everybody's different, but it, you know, for everybody, it will take their consciousness to where they need to go. And
Yes.
I firmly believe that especially with addictive, aspects. I mean, we all have some type of thing that we're addicted to, whatever that looks like. There's so many types of addictions. And the reason that thing that you're looking for, that thing to fill you up, is the separation. It's the separation from you and source and your divinity and your power. And so being able to take your consciousness back to source, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm not actually missing anything. It's been here the whole time.
Yes.
That's why, yeah, I love those sessions. And you're absolutely right when you say your DNA was altered. So when you go back to source, you are literally given this opportunity. And, I remember yours, you had all of these beautiful guides around you, all your angels were there. And it's literally like, they're surrounding you in this circle and they're like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? You're at the 0 point field. You've got literally every direction you can choose. Who do you want to be? And you are given the opportunity to pick this timeline, because we're multidimensional. We're always shifting. Every single second of the day, we're shifting to a different person. We're not the same people we were in 2018, nor were we yesterday. So you're given that opportunity to pick the timeline that you want, that's most optimal to you. And when you do that, you are literally altering the version of yourself, the version of, those aspects of your dormant DNA, which translate to timelines, dimensions, all of that stuff on the quantum level. So yeah, you are shifting to this other version. That's just perfect. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yep. And so that sort of is what propelled me. That was the beginning, we'll say, of the end, but then really it's the beginning, right? And so it was the end of that version of me and the beginning of the new version, really. And it was really what set me free. And, from there, after really, I remember you had recommended Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth. And that was another thing, just really reading that and starting to gain the knowledge of the ego and the way that we are. And just, that was just such a powerful thing too, really, in the beginning. And then, from there, realizing like the situation that I was in, I needed to get out of. And
so after this BQH and you realize you're blank slate Tracy, and you come out of that and you are seeing your life, your current reality for what it is. You're seeing it with clarity, maybe for the first time in a while. A lot of times when that happens, I mean, literally 9 out of 10 times, clients I've worked with, there's always been a shifting of relationships. It seems like there's always a point at which, you're either one partner is staying there, and then one partner is moving and shifting and growing. And unfortunately, especially in these very shifty times, that relationship doesn't move forward. And I know that that's kind of where you were, and you were realizing that, oh, this is not good for me. I need to move on from that. So I guess if you can kind of walk us through your process of realizing you needed to get away from that past relationship.
Yeah, so that story feels like a long one, although it feels like a short period of time, when I talk about it now, thinking back. So it was a process of, me now coming off the alcohol, and I'm starting to wake up. And so you start to see things differently. And I remember, as I was saying, you had recommended that book, Eckhart Tolle's New Earth. And I remember, coming home from Philadelphia, and I was practicing one of his things that he recommended in the book. And I remember just having this like weird floating sensation. And it was just like the most amazing feeling in the world. And I remember coming home, and I remember talking to my partner at the time. And I was just like, I wanted to like share all this stuff with him. Like, it was so amazing to me. And it was just like, and he would sit there and he would pretend to agree with me, but I could tell it just wasn't like getting through. He wasn't interested in it at all. And I just remember thinking, like, I really wish I had somebody that I was with that I could share all this amazing information with, that would like be as interested in as I am, And And it was like fuel to my fire, and it was like a passion, and I don't know, I couldn't imagine anymore being with somebody that didn't have that as an interest, I guess. And I was like, really, as you say, I was growing, right? And he just wasn't. And above and beyond even that, there was so much fighting in the relationship. And I just remember, after I had found out that he was cheating, we'll say in November of 2018, and talking to him and saying like, look, we'll stay together. We have a business, we have a house, we have kids, we have all this stuff. And I said, but the one condition is that you have to be nice to me. And he was for about 3 weeks. And then it was, just as bad, if not worse than before. And I'm like, I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I remember the way he would be angry with my daughter and like yelling at her. And I didn't want to challenge his authority as a parent. And I was always conflicted about that because she'd be trying to hide behind me. And, finally, after I made this decision that I'm done, I was able to stand up for her. And then that was the last time that happened. And, it felt great. It felt empowering. And even at that, I had to do a lot of self-work. I remember there were 2 specific courses. There was Jeffrey Allen's Duality, which is an energy healing type course, which teaches you to clear your aura of these old belief systems that we hold on to. And using the roses as a sort of vortex to help keep your energy field clear, and working with the chakras. And I just remember having such emotions come up. I just burst into tears for no reason. I'd be like, where did that even come from? But it was because of this work that I was doing, and then Marissa Peer's Uncompromised Life is what really, hit home with the I am enough saying. And so those 2 things were really transformational for me at that point. And that is wherein I decided I wanted to do what Marissa does when I found out she was teaching RTT. So that was sort of where I started with hypnosis. But ultimately, the biggest transformation, and I remember you telling me too, you were like the first person I think that told me my heart chakra was blocked. And so I had gone to New York, right? I guess it was the year, I don't remember what year it was anyway. Time is just funny now to me. But I had gone for this past life regression and a life between life regression with Paul Arand, his name was, out of New York. And he's sort of the head of the Newton Institute at this point. And that session was just so unbelievably transformational in my life. Like the things that I saw, the things that I witnessed, the lessons that I learned and I took from that. I mean, you want to talk about deep transformation. It was just, and I just felt like a nuclear bomb had gone off in my chest. My heart was like blown open, and it was just like, I don't know how to describe it. And other than that, and I just was completely changed forever. And I know that one of my major life lessons is letting go, to let go of things. And so here I am holding on to this relationship and this house and all of this stuff. But really, ultimately, in order to move on and to really become who I needed to become, I needed to be willing to let all of that go and really just start over. And it's like, are you're going to jump now? Are you going to fall, or are you going to fly? And I just remember telling myself that all the time. And so that is sort of why. So at that point, I had decided I was going to be a past life regression therapist. It was something else I wanted to do. I was supposed to go to Italy for that training, and then COVID hit. But I did do the training anyway. We were able to get it done over Zoom. And I've been doing those sessions now, and it is just unbelievable and amazing, the places that people go and the things that they see and the messages they get and how much transformation is possible. It's just amazing work, spiritual work.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's why, when people start their spiritual path and they open their heart chakras, what happens is we start to learn self-love. And all of a sudden, when we learn self-love and we realize that we are worthy, like we are worthy of just the ultimate unconditional love. And then we're like, we have these heart chakra awakenings, and then we go home to our partners, because I was the same way. We go,
Yes.
We go home to our past partners and we're like, I am literally just asking for you to be a decent human to me. And then that hits you like, this isn't
I can't do it. And I remember specifically, like, because I had a hard time doing it for myself, even still, right? And so, yes, you can't love anyone else if you can't love yourself, because you can't give what you don't have, right?
Mhm.
But I remember just looking at my kids and thinking, like, Jesus, you know, like, my daughter is learning that this is what a man should treat her like. My son is learning this is how a man treats a woman, and I'm doing this for them. I'm sacrificing my own happiness for my kids, and I don't even think they're benefiting from it. And that was just the final decision maker, and that was it. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I resonate with that for sure. Well, I want to, I'm so appreciative of your story. And, you know, if anybody's out there listening, if any, and it's not just females, males too, you know, we all find ourselves in these relationships. You know, if there's any little part of you that just thinks, you know, that it just doesn't resonate with the relationship you're in anymore, it's, you know, it takes a lot of courage, especially when you've been married for a long time. Like you said, you've got stuff, you've got houses, you've got cars. It's messy. And, you know, you and I have both gone through the divorce process. It's sure not fun. Um, but you know, and sometimes it takes way longer than you think, but I'm on the other side of it. You're on the other side of it. We're examples that you can make it through. You can get through it.
Yes, and I would also like to add to that too, because a lot of people think, like, just because you get divorced, you know, you have to hate this person or you have to never talk to them again. And I had told him throughout the whole thing, like, even though he cheated and he did what he did, like, I never blamed him for that, because, you know, quite honestly, I was a drunk, I was a shitty wife. I was nobody that anybody would want to be married to, quite honestly. And until I got my shit together, I mean, I can't even, you can't blame the man, right, for what he was married to. So, and I remember telling him, like, I am divorcing you with love, because I know that you are not strong enough to do this. I have to do this because you can't. And I'm doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for you. You are not happy with me. And that's why we're so miserable. That's why we fight all the time. We deserve to be happy. And so, you know, through another past life, because I've done a lot of these past lives, you know, when you're training, you do them, you trade, you do whatever, right? So through the first one was the one where I really learned about letting go. And I'll just give you the brief story of that. It was, you know, I had woken up to kind of seeing these strange things, and it was water with the sunset is what it was that I was looking at. And then just the feeling of immense heartbreak and pain in my chest, because it was just like this immense sense of loss. And I just remember I was crawling up on the shoreline, and I was a woman. I had gray hair, my hair was tied back, I had this blue dress with this white apron, and I'm crawling up on the shoreline, and it hit me that I had just lost my child and my husband out in a boating accident. And so, you know, throughout the things that had happened in this life, the community came around, but then of course, you know, you're left alone. And so I never moved on in that life. I just lived sad the rest of that life. I was never able to, like, live much of a life after that, and died alone. I mean, it was just not good. And so the lesson in that was you need to let go of things and get on with your life. So these things happen, right? And you need to let go. And so with the Life Between Life session, I was able to connect on the soul level and see that the husband and son from that boating accident are my daughter now and my ex. And so we're repeating this letting go thing, but just now it's with a divorce, right? Instead of a death. And through a second one, I had gained some insight also that the lesson now is transforming love. So we need to transform the love from that of a husband and a wife. And because we were, I mean, obviously in the beginning, it was fire, it was passion, it was beautiful, it was great, right? Everything was wonderful. And he has a lot of great qualities. But unfortunately, he's unconscious and he doesn't love himself. And there's like that hole that he's constantly trying to fill with so many things, you know? And then I just can't live with that, right? So the transformation of this love is now the lesson. And so now it's from a husband-wife to a friendship or a business partner or whatever that's going to look like. And I'm still in that process of figuring that out. But that's just what I wanted to add. It doesn't have to end in tragedy and ugly and fighting. And if you can end it with love on a conscious way, it really could actually be beautiful. And it's not a failure. That was another thing I kept saying to him. It's not a failure. We have 2 beautiful children. We have a successful business. it was a successful marriage, right? It just came to an end. Its time was done, and that was it.
Mm, that's beautiful. I love that. That's awesome. Let's talk about your book a little bit.
Sure.
Shifting gears. Because I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. I'm so looking forward to reading it. Where was your head when you started writing this book?
Yeah, so writing this book took me a good year and a half. So yes, it was during the divorce. Really, what fueled the fire for this book was the fact that it took me 10 years to hear this message about alcohol. And I could have literally saved 10 years of my life had I known some of this, because it was almost like a switch for me. Like once I understood that I was brainwashed and I was being manipulated, I was so pissed off that it was just like, I was actually angry. And so, you know, having gone through AA and being told that I'm broken and having to do all of these I am an alcoholic bullshit, and like, you know, you should never say I am and then put something like that after it. And then you're confined to these dungeons that they make you go to these meetings and you're hiding and everything's in secret. Like, sobriety is something I think that should be celebrated. I don't think we need to hide. And I don't think we need to label ourselves as some derogatory term and say that we're broken, because we're not broken. We are addicted to a highly addictive substance that society has now on some level accepted and finds it to be actually not only acceptable, but the people that are not drinking the poison are the ones that are not normal. I mean, and this is where we're at as a collective. And so seriously, like when I heard that, I'm like, why is this not out there for more people to hear? And so that is what really fueled the book. And so there's a big section, the whole middle section of the book is a lot of these different ideas on what happens to us mentally, the marketing. There's some stuff in there about making the unfamiliar familiar, and how that works psychologically. There's some stuff in there about research things on, you know, because a big question of mine too is like, why are we even allowing this industry to market to us this way when it's really against the rules, right? So look what happened to cigarettes, but yet we allow alcohol to continue. And so my hope is to have people that are still maybe in this cycle and looking to get out of it, have this realization that this is what's happening to them. So the first part is really my story and what sort of led me to it. We sort of did that summary, all right? And then so the middle part is really some of this other information. And then the last part is sort of some of the stuff that I read and found to be sort of empowering. And so Eckhart Tolle's stuff and Ruiz, that book, Mastery of Love, had a lot of really great things in it too. It was another one about. So I put some of that stuff in the end. I mean, there's only so much you could put in one book. You know, and so that's sort of what it's comprised of. And people, if you don't have a problem with alcohol, or maybe you know somebody that does that could benefit, but like you don't really need to even read the middle section. You can just read if you want to go to the story and you want to go to the other stuff. Some people don't want to read your story. They're like, hey, just get me to the part that like I need to read, right? That's to help me. I don't want to hear your story. So that's sort of why it was sectioned up that way.
Gotcha. That's great. I can't wait to read it. You know, I drank for 15 years and I always felt like if I had just known then what I know now, I think that's a song, you know. I think everybody
right.
things like, oh, if I just known, I could have saved so many bad headache mornings and like, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But on the other side, right, we wouldn't have been able to go through what we went through. So yeah,
it's a give and take, and there's really no such thing as time. So, you know, it is what it is. All of our stories develop the way they develop. Cool. Yeah. And I want to talk about, you know, the idea of AA too, because it's, you know, same situation. A lot of my clients if not most of my clients have been through some sort of traditional therapy. You know, they're sitting on a couch, they're telling this, you know, basically they're just venting to somebody, and the traditional model, the 3D therapy model, you know, in my opinion, the reason it doesn't work is because, you know, it's just like the pharmaceuticals. You're just addressing a symptom. You're not getting to the core.
Well, that's exactly right. The problem is that when you're in a traditional therapy setting, you're still dealing with the thinking mind, right? And so you're not dealing with that deeper, greater part of you that has all the answers. And so, I sort of tell my clients as when we meet, it's like, this is your mind, right? And so this is mind, and this is the subconscious. And so when we do hypnosis, what we're trying to do is just sort of peel back the mind. And it's not that we shut you down. You're not going to sleep. You're awake. We're talking throughout the whole process, but we want mental mind to just sort of let go and allow subconscious mind to come through. And subconscious mind is where all it's the language of subconscious is emotions. And so that's the way to get in. It's through your emotions. But that's really where all the answers are. And from there, once we get into that and we get you into hypnosis and get into subconscious mind, from there we could sort of really dive deeper and then, go back to a childhood memory, see if there's anything really that's going on there. Going into the womb. And once you're in the womb, you can really start to explore from there, like why you're coming into this life. Have you done this before? What is your soul's nature? Why this family? Why this time? Why this body? Why a male or a female? Like some of these really bigger questions can sort of be looked at. And then from there, you could go into the past life where you can just review that life, and you go in with the intention of what's going on with you now, and you're going to go to the life that you need to go to. That's going to give you the most information. And once you get into that life, you can just sort of review that life and what happened in that life and how is it affecting me now? And am I carrying these lessons from lifetime to lifetime? And so once you have that information, it's just so transformative. I mean, you could see it in almost everything. Whenever something comes up, like I could see like, okay, that's me, that's my letting go issue, or it's my trust issue, or whatever the issue might be, that I'm a control issue. Like anything that comes up, if I sit there and I really just focus on the feeling, feel where it is in my body, and then, okay, so why is this coming up for me? You could, and it's so empowering to have this information. And from there, like a lot of people are just, sometimes you don't even go into the past life people. I've had clients that just pop into a space where they're connected with soul self, and they're just like this complete like connection now, and they feel what it's like to be like this eternal being and this power and have all of this like history and longevity and this plan, right? And they can look down at them here, and it's amazing how many people see butterflies and different things and this imagery that comes up, right? But like, oh, so this is me as a human, and now I gain this respect for this person, that's this human being that's living this life and has all these struggles. But really what then happens is that you get out of the matrix, because you can see that I'm really up here, and this is all going down here, and there's a lot going on down here, and this is our life, and this chaotic world is our existence, but there's so much more. And I don't know, it's just so empowering to have this higher perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So let me ask, this is something I ask all of my fellow healers. Because a lot of us, we know we want to be healers. We don't know what our modality is. We don't know how to jump into it. And, we always have that moment where we're like, I don't know if I'm ready. Am I ready to do this? How am I going to do this? Look at it. Tell me what your very first client, you're the very first session you did, and walk me through how you felt, how it went, how was the outcome?
Well, I'll do you one better than that. When I first decided I wanted to do this, I had gone from hiding who I was and putting myself down and living in shame and guilt. And my partner was keeping me there because it was beneficial for him to keep me there. And everybody he wanted me there. And then I kept myself there. And so when I finally broke free of all that, and I decided I'm going to do this, when I got on the phone for the first time and told somebody my story, I was literally in tears. I was shaking. I couldn't even talk. I was like, wait a minute, you just went from wanting to keep all this in the closet, and now you're going to come out in here and be public, and wait, what? So your mind just goes crazy. And then from there, yeah, so starting to take clients, you just feel, oh my God, can I do this? Like, is this really what I mean, how am I going to do this? Who's going to listen to me? Like, there's just so many questions and so much fear and doubt. But again, it's, you just sort of push through that. And I worked through a lot of it with hypnosis. And I had this vision when I had my life between life. I had to, one of my contracts in this life was that if I was able to get myself sober, I needed to heal my genetic line of this addiction. And so part of what I did at my life between life session, just they're grateful and thanking me. And I remember just like overwhelmed taking that in. And just knowing at that point, you know, that the message was, you need to do this work. This is what you're here for. And so it's scary, because then in that space, you are so sure and confident and powerful, right? Because you don't have any of those human emotions that we go through. But then you come back here and then you're like, wait a minute, I can't do this. I'm scared. I'm fearful. So yes, just pushing through that. And then I will tell you that the clients that I needed found me. I didn't do marketing. I mean, it was just, I'd be talking to people. I'd be talking to somebody about taking a course somewhere, or I'd get a session from somebody and I'd start talking about what I was doing. And so the clients would be like, oh, I have a friend that needs that. So, all right, I'll see them. And I can't tell you how amazing it feels when you see somebody. And I remember thinking, like, because now COVID hit and Zoom, and we're doing Zoom, and can you do this over Zoom? And I just remember sitting there with this woman, and she came to me for depression, anxiety. She was on all kinds of medication, couldn't get free of it. And I remember, you know, going back to her childhood, and she had all these discoveries and this amazing transformation. And I remember sitting there talking to her, because I was always like, well, what if I don't know what to say? Or what if I don't know what to do? And if I just allow myself to tune in with the client, I start to hear what the client needs to hear. And I start to ask what the client needs to be asked. And I start to guide them where they need to be guided, because it's just sort of an intuitive thing. And if I just allow my mind to shut up and allow this deeper part of me to connect with my client, they get everything they need. And this woman, I followed her, and she was able to get off of her medication for depression and anxiety. She was like doing really great the last I had checked in with her. And I was just like, wow, like that is so powerful. And so I guess the message is that, yes, it's scary, but the reward is so great if you could just push past your own fears. And the fear, I believe, is just the ego wanting to, you know, be accepted and perfect and, you know, whatever else. And I think we all have that, the imposter syndrome.
Yes. Oh, I love that for sure. I mean, you know, and I still have that, you know, before I get on the phone with somebody or before I get on a Zoom session, it's like, oh, I'm not feeling it today. I'm this, I'm that. You know, I'm going to.
Do I really need to do makeup today? Do I have to do my hair? Like, I don't want to.
Right. You know, how am I gonna do this? But you're right. The second you just let all of your stuff go and you tune in with that person and you connect with their heart space, your higher self comes in, and it's like, step aside, Amanda.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. I got this. And you let that higher conscious mind come in, your higher self come in, and it's just, you just know what to do. You just know what to say.
Exactly.
You know what to do. You know what they need.
You don't need a script. You don't need it. I mean, and there is no script. There's no script. I mean, the places that people go when they're in hypnosis, there is no script you can follow. You just need to be there. You need to be with them. You need to be zoned in. You got to be on their wavelength, matching their energy, matching their speed. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing, this stuff. It really is.
And that's the thing with empathic, intuitive light worker people. We do this all of the time and don't even know it. It's the idea of just holding space for somebody. I use this analogy a lot of, you know, it's kind of like you've got somebody that comes to you, they have all of these issues. It's like they're at the bottom of the ocean without their oxygen mask, and they're drowning, and they just literally need somebody to come down there with them, put a bubble over them, and be like, it's okay, take a breath, you know. And right. It's enough. It's a millisecond. It's enough time to get them to the surface where they can go, oh, you're right. Thank you. You know, and
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
yeah, awesome. So I do past life, future life, current alternative life regression too. I'm wondering what your most interesting, profound, crazy regression that you've ever done. What's the craziest story you have?
Oh, well, that's a good one. I don't know that any of them, I don't think any of them are crazy in that sense. But a lot of people, and so it's funny when you say that, because I think about where I was when you were trying to get me to do a Beyond Quantum Healing session. I was so afraid until like where I'm at now, it's like the fear is just amazing. Um, just, man, I have had like people go into some unbelievable spaces. And the one that's coming to mind is just maybe because it's the most recent one, but like he really just, I was just going back to a childhood, and he just started to connect with his self as a child and realize that like he would look at a blade of grass and focus at that blade of grass and like go into this higher space where he was connected. Or if he started really getting too busy, he would become disconnected from that higher space. And then somewhere in childhood he was taught that it wasn't right to be connected to that space. And so this little boy decided, I can't do this anymore. And so his adult self was wanting to connect with that self, but little boy was still, no, I not coming back, right? And so once we were able to connect these two, we were able to turn the little boy around and connect him with that power. And from there, he just popped out into like his ancestral, like he was just floating along this line out in space. And he was just like, it's just so ancient, this ancient power. And then like, again, the butterflies, you know, seeing, just looking down at Earth from the perspective and the vantage point of Earth, and just seeing like the butterflies and just saying, oh, and there's like little me running around and living my life. And like, so it was just, and that's just, you know, a typical, like, I don't know what you want to call it, spirit connection, soul connection to the higher self. But he was able to connect with that power and realize that, you know, you're still here living this life, but you need this body, this human body, for this power to function on this plane to do the things that it needs to do. And so his realization was that he was here to help bring this change about.
Mm.
You know,
That's awesome.
but
Yeah.
I had a girl who had gone out and just realized, you know, she was going through a lot because didn't want to have kids, and I guess was getting a lot of pressure from her family. And it was just, no, you are to end your line on this earth plane, because your line now is going to another plane. We're going to learn somewhere else. Our family is going, we don't want to be on earth anymore. We're going to go. So this is why. So just, you know, and her ancestors who were dead were there sitting around the table, and they were just saying, we accept this in you. Please do not feel guilty about this. It's all in the plan. And so learning that her soul family is moving on to their lessons are going to be somewhere outside of earth. And so, you know, and that was a big acceptance, because that's sometimes a big thing for women. Like, well, I don't want to have kids. Well, and the people on earth are giving you a hard time, right? What do you mean you don't want to have kids? What kind of a woman are you? Right? So that was another strange one, but yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So how do clients get a hold of you? What's the process of starting a program with you?
So I have a website. It's riseagainphoenix.com. I have a Facebook group. Again, it's Facebook Rise Again Phoenix. Instagram is rise.again.phoenix, I believe. And anybody can get a hold of me on Facebook. You know, you can send a private message. You can get a hold of me through my website. I think there's even a way to just book a consultation through the website. So basically, you know, if you're just curious about, if you have an issue and you want to just talk about it, there's no charge for that, just to sort of see if we even are a good fit to work together. I guess that would be how.
Awesome. So Tracy, what's the most important thing that you want clients to know about you?
Well, I guess that, you know, I really just want to be that light in the dark place because I've been there and I know what it's like to feel so alone and isolated and struggling and not know where to turn when you're trying to find somebody to help you, and or even just to talk to, like you said, hold space. And I've been there. I've been through so many, I mean, you know, fertility, divorce, alcohol, I mean, addiction, you name it. And so uh, from losing a medical license and trying to just start my life over, you know, I'm still, I guess I'm still living through it too. I mean, we're all just, you know, doing what we can to try to help raise the consciousness in the collective, right? And move things forward. I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but
It's the perfect answer. It's where all true healers should be. I always say this, if you ever talk to a healer, guru, shaman type person and they are not going through something, or you know, they claim to like, oh, I've transcended the 3D, I'm 5D ascended master, you know, nothing.
yeah, no, even still, you know, in the transition of, I think you and I had talked before, you know, letting go, right? Sold that house that I built in 2007. It was my land since I was a kid. You want to talk about holding on to something for too long. And so that's been shed, and now we're in a holding pattern, waiting for COVID to let up so that I could build the next house. We got the land, but we're waiting. So here I am in this room, the house I grew up in. This was my bedroom as a child. I'm back. So my
Girl,
you know.
I was there last year. I was there. I was living in my mom's house. I mean, that's what happens when you decide to switch to a different version of yourself. Sometimes you have to start over, literally starting over where you were when you were a kid. And
But you know what? It's all worth it. I don't care. Giving up all of that material stuff is so worth it to become the me that I need to become. And I just look at it as it's a contraction. You know, we constantly in the universe is expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. It's a contraction, and it's a forced stop. You need to sit here and just do this right now. And so I am just accepting it for what it is. It's a smaller space, but I'm going to take it for what it is. I'm going to enjoy the time while I'm here, and it is what it is. It's meant to be.
I love it. It's perfect. Yeah, that's a message that so many people need to hear right now. And there's nothing wrong with starting over. There's nothing wrong with going to ground zero. There's nothing wrong with reinventing yourself. And, you know, sometimes you have to lose everything and realize what's really important and what you really want. And like you said, you're happy and you're working with clients and you're doing your life's mission, and you're in a beautiful place. And I think that's awesome.
It is. And sometimes really just letting go of all of those things just allows you, like you said, the space to breathe, right? It's a simpler life, it's a smaller life, and it's got space.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's kind of the American dream. You know, I feel like in my past life, my past Earth 3D life, you know, and I think I've said this to you before, on paper, my life should have been perfect, you know?
Oh, yeah. On paper, hell yeah. Physician assistant, lawyer, you got the house, you got the car, you got the kids, you got the business, you got, like, you know, but really.
Yeah. It's just something was missing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, what a great talk. I love you, Tracy. I love that you're here. I love that you're doing so great. I can't wait to read your book. And I'm going to link all of your information in the description of the video. And I encourage anybody who is resonating with Tracy to reach out, talk to her, chat with her, and for sure get her book and read it. Thank you for being here. Any last words, Tracy?
Just thank you for having me. It's really an honor, you know, given our history and where we've been together, and truly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And also, I will say, you know, if you want to come on again and we can chat again about the book, or, you know, where your process is leading you, you're definitely, you know, I'd love to have you on again.
Absolutely. Be honored.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and have a good day, everybody.